Good morning, people. This is the credit card talk. I know a lot of you have heard parts of this. Some of you have heard of this. A lot of you have been anxiously anticipating this talk and can now barely sit still at the edge of your seat. Let me tell you about credit cards, my friends. Now, the reason I spend time teaching or talking about this to high school students is because for most of you who go off to college or even just out in the world, when you hit the age of 18, you are going to receive a credit card offer. You're going to receive an offer from a credit card company to open an account and to start spending money. Now, some of you already have some experience with credit cards because your parents have given you access to theirs and you've used it, you've seen it used, you know a little bit about it. But I want to explain a little bit about this so that you don't fall prey to a trend that has engulfed most Americans. When I say most Americans, something like the average American has something like $10,000 of credit card debt currently hanging over their heads because they never learned how to deal with credit cards. Now, there are those out there who are financial advisors. I am not an official financial advisor. I have to put that disclosure out there, and I'm going to disagree with some of them, and I'm going to agree with others. So certain schools of thought say that you should never get a credit card. It's a bad idea. Don't do it. And I don't entirely disagree. No, I do. I do entirely disagree. The reason I entirely disagree is because the audience for that message is similar to saying to a recovering drug addict or alcoholic, don't buy drugs or alcohol. Okay, it's a bad idea. I totally agree. So most people, credit cards might be a bad idea because you don't know how to use them, you don't have the discipline, and you certainly can't control yourself to the degree that you need to avoid going into crippling debt. Okay, so today I just want to explain a little bit about what a credit card is and how it works. Okay, so let's show you what a credit card looks like, because for these younger generations, you might not see these because everything's going digital with the current pandemic. Most credit cards are probably going to be either on your phone or your watch or your eyes. I don't know. But the old-fashioned way would be to have something like this. It's a piece. This is a piece of metal because it's a big boy credit card. Other ones look more like flimsy and plastic. We're not advertising specific credit cards right this second, but it has usually a 16-digit number on it. Nowadays, they all have a chip, and then it'll have an expiration date and a security code on the back. Okay. Without delving into the details of those numbers and codes, let's talk about what it actually is and what it does. A credit card, excuse me, is basically an object or a number or an account that tells people who are selling stuff that you, the credit card holder, are trustworthy for the amount of money that you're using. So if you're going to buy a $500 couch or something, and you don't have $500, but you got the credit card, that's telling this furniture store that this person is good for that money, more or less. But it also is a loan, okay? Because the person who's giving you, the credit card company who's giving you that credit, looks at you and your track record of money and all this stuff and says, based on what we know about you, you're more or less reliable to give us that $500 that we're loaning you to buy the couch. Okay? You follow me so far? It might be a little complicated. We'll back up a little bit in a second. So essentially, a credit card is another way of borrowing money from a credit card company. The credit card company gives you their card, and they're essentially extending you a loan for whatever you want to buy, and then at the end of each billing cycle or month or whatever it is, you got to pay it back. Okay, that's it. Now that should be it, but it's not. Okay, here's the trick here. Why would a credit card company do that? They wouldn't do it, right? They're in it for the money. It's not a charity organization. So what they do is they charge interest. Interest is basically saying, hey, this is how much we are charging you to borrow our money. Okay. Now, for example, they might charge, a credit card company might charge like 12.5%. So if you borrow $100, you got to pay back $112.50. Okay. Now, here's the thing though. You only have to pay the interest if you don't pay back the entire bill every month. So when you get a credit card statement in the mail, it'll have a list of all the purchases you made. So all the times you went to Chipotle, all the times you bought clothes you didn't need at Nordstrom, all the time you went to the movies, whatever it is that you did, all those charges are listed out. Okay. And they're totaled up and they say, here's how much you owe us. And let's just say it's $1,000. Okay. Now that $1,000, it'll say statement balance $1,000. You can pay that $1,000 and you're not paying a dime in interest, not a penny in interest, zero. Okay. But right beneath that, they'll also have something called the minimum due. And that is, in order to keep your credit card and your credit score in happy times, you need to pay them back at least this amount. So imagine you go to your friend and ask for money and they say, here, I'll give you the $20 you want. And then a week later, you got to pay me back. A week comes around, you're like, hey, I don't have the $20, but I do have $2. They're like, okay, give me the 2. You still owe me 18, and then you got to pay it back as fast as you can. Credit card companies are similar to that, except that they charge interest now. So you are like most Americans, you see that minimum balance due, and it says $15. Well, man, 15's a lot less than $1,000 that I owe. I'm going to pay the 15 and I'll deal with that $985 next month. Sounds like a plan, doesn't it? You see, my friends, that is what most Americans do. They go for the low number, the easier number at the time, the number that feels better at the time, not realizing that the $985 is still not only going to be waiting for them next month, but it's going to have interest attached to it. And what invariably happens is the next month they'll get the same thing. Well, they spent another $1,000 or however much money, and they still have that minimum balance due. $15 still looks pretty good. And they keep doing that, and they keep doing that, and they push the bigger number later down the road, and eventually it becomes a huge, huge amount. And that is why so many Americans, most Americans, have somewhere in the neighborhood of $10,000 of credit card debt. That seems like something that would be fun to deal with or sleep. Going to sleep every night with $10,000 of credit card debt seems like it would feel pretty good, right? There's no wonder why one of the most prescribed drugs in America are antidepressants, anti-anxiety medicine. Now, I don't mean to minimize those conditions. I know some of you have other things going on that contribute to that, but the point being, money problems generally lead to stress and anxiety and sometimes depression. They also can lead to serious problems in relationships and all kinds of other things. So that is why it's important to figure out how to handle your money so that you don't have to fall into these kind of traps. Okay, so the trick here is with credit cards is to make them work for you. Okay, so many credit card companies, you see the commercials all the time. They have celebrities, they have all kinds of, they're expensive commercials because they want you to get their credit card. And they want you to get their credit card because most of them know, they all know this, that the majority of people who do this have no discipline and will rely on paying that minimum balance every month. And so they collect millions and billions of dollars of interest from people who have these credit cards and don't pay them back every month. Now, me and other brilliant people like me know that credit cards can actually generate money for the credit card holder, me. And the way they do that is by paying that balance every month, the entire statement balance every time. Not only am I eliminating the need to pay interest, I have no credit card debt. And most credit card companies, because they want their business or your business, they offer you incentives or rewards that can come in the form of points, miles, cash back, deals at hotels and things like that, and travel, a lot of different categories, right? Well, when you spend, so like, let's say you spend $100 at this place and you get a 2% bump from your credit card company, that's 2% back, like whether it's points or miles, or whatever. That means you get $2, right? 2% of 100 is 2. So you get $2 back. Well, that doesn't sound like much, but when you use that credit card for everything you buy, and believe me, when you get older, life starts to cost money. that becomes quite a bit of a kickback. And so like I have a family of 4 that we spend that credit card with, myself included. I'm telling you, I make thousands of dollars every year from credit cards because of the money I spend, and because a lot of these credit card companies offer huge sign-up bonuses, like hundreds of dollars just to open their credit card and spend a little bit in the first couple months. So you can make money from credit cards. They are relying on the fact that most people, and again, I'm talking about like maybe 5 to 10% of people are smart enough to do what I do. The rest of the people pay the minimum balance over and over and over again and have crippling credit card debt that they can't really get out of, or takes a really, really long time to get out of, because they view this credit card as just like play money. They don't see the physical cash being transacted there. They just see this is here, I'm giving you this and you're giving me the thing that I want to buy now. Okay, another reason this is really important to understand is because I mentioned this earlier, but as we kind of deal with some of the implications of this pandemic, and technology was heading this way anyway, or had already kind of got there, is that more and more credit card like devices are going to be easier and easier to use with very little thought or planning. So you can go to the grocery store right now and pay for your groceries. I can do it with my watch, right? I can do it. I can tap the credit card. I can do it with my phone. I can do it. I don't even have, like, pretty soon they're going to be able to just use, your fingerprint or whatever it is. So that there's very little going on up here when you're paying for something. And if you don't understand what's actually transpired when you do a credit card purchase, you are liable to fall prey to that racking debt that gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you're just going to lose control. Now, in the next video, I'm going to explain a little bit more about why credit is important. But in this video, I just wanted to kind of lay the groundwork of kind of how it works. So again, to recap, a credit card is more or less a loan, and you have to pay it back statement balance, the entire statement balance every month, in order to make it work for you. If you pay the minimum balance, you're liable to spend tons and tons of your money and more of your time paying that back. And it's going to be a lot more stress in your life. You spend money that you have, right? You use this as cash that you have in the bank. You don't use this because you don't have the money. You don't use this as an emergency fund. I can talk about that on another video as well. But suffice it to say, get a hold of your credit card, get a hold of your discipline, and you'll be able to take charge of the way that this whole thing works, and you'll be able to actually make it work for you and make money. I hope this is helpful. Like, comment, subscribe. By the way, I do have a written blog that kind of walks through this. I'll link this at the bottom of the video as well. But more on credit in the next video. Talk to you soon.